what do you need improvement in?
Just want to go through and win.
What is the purpose of overthinking? You're taking care of your loved one. That's how you can increase your sales.
Hello, everybody. This is Ferris.
And this is Caleb Lenore, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with the Homecare Guyz.
Man, Caleb, what's up, brother? What's up, man? How's it going with your green pants on?
These my exercise pants. It's come along great, man. Great. How was your weekend?
Man, this weekend was really good, brother. Of course, coming off the Easter weekend, man. So it was super exciting just to get a chance to relax a little bit, see the kids running around finding eggs. We didn't do any hard-boiled eggs, but man, it was cool, brother. How was yours, man?
I had a great weekend. I actually went to church. I went to World Changers with Pastor Creflo and Tappy Dollar. It was really good Easter service. They actually renovated like the vestibule. Very beautiful. Service was amazing. And then pretty much, I was trying to make it down to Miss Mary, your mother-in-law, and because I heard y'all had all the helpings and food, so I was like, I was really in my feelings.
Man, they had so much food. Like she had everything from fried catfish to I think it's bass out there to. They did the grill, had ham, hot dogs, ribs, potato salad, just everything, beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes.
You pretty much had the you name it challenge.
We had the you name it challenge.
Oh my goodness,
it was so delicious, man.
How did Lena? I know, mom came out there, but exactly. How did Lena enjoy herself and Kristen and the little ones?
They enjoyed themselves because my mother-in-law, she has like a couple acres in the backyard and all is very clear. Right. So they did the egg hunt. They played t-ball. Oh my gosh, like it was just really fun. It was good seeing kids be kids.
Exactly.
Because I think so many times right now people they just go through and actually it's all about the devices. It's all about just kind of living this fast-paced thing. But it was good to see them run out, sweat, get tired, drinking water, huffing and puffing, and putting them to bed at night.
Yes, that's what's up. That's what I missed though. But Easter weekend was great. And so but we're gonna get ready to dive into our topic today. Our topic today is pretty much what is your story, and I think that is so important, especially for entrepreneurs, for people that are starting a business. You need to know, like, you need to have a story, of why you do what you do.
Exactly.
And so, Ferris, let's dive into our combo.
Yeah, Caleb. So I as we were preparing for this, it was like really, it became more apparent and more aware that, you know what, everything starts with a story. Right. And sometimes we may not know that we're in the thick of our story when we're in it, because the story, it has a beginning, a middle, and a expected ending. But it's amazing how a lot of times in business, people don't realize their story until after it starts happening. After you got fired from the job, after you went through the ups and the downs or the mishaps, that was a part of the story. And just like you said, Caleb, most businesses, they build their business based off a story. You
know what? I remember, especially even with starting our business, we had a story, but we didn't know the significance of the story. And so, when we initially started the business, we just started marketing, home care services. We were like, these are the services that we provide. We provide skilled nursing service. We provide personal care companionship services. And then we kept doing that, and really, we weren't really connecting with either the referral source or our audience. And so we had to, I think we read a book. I think my brother Joshua ended up reading a book about branding, and it starts with the story. Yeah. Everything starts with the story. And so I had the opportunity before coming on the show, just kind of listening to a few stories of a lot of big companies, and how they got started. And I'm going to share with you a few of them, but I wanted to go, you say like what you said about a story, fair, it has a middle, a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Exactly.
Why don't you elaborate what you mean by that?
So just kind of think about it. Like, if I think about like my whole life into like a storybook, like, of course you were birthed, and it's funny, like, we're born as the main character in our story.
Well, that's true.
And so we're the main character. We're the person that goes through the ups and the downs, the struggles. We're the person that have that triumph to go through and actually excel and go through and achieve certain things. But like that in business as well, a lot of times people, again, they connect with a story. Most people, they like, everyone not everyone, most people that have a business, they don't realize the story behind their business. But being able to settle down, slow it down, and craft the story to go through and figure out why you started your business, realize the ups and the downs, realize you had to go through multiple jobs, or realize there was an inequity or a need out there that you wanted to go through and actually tackle. Realize that it was a battle that needed to be fought that you wanted to go through and make sure you won as well. I think that's one thing that's a selling point of a story. And just like you said, we go through and hear these stories about just these different well-known individuals, MLK or Truett Cathy or your Gary V's or whatever. And we're like, man, that's so inspiring. But we're in our own story right now as well. And I know you're going to be sharing a few stories, and I got a couple of stories I want to go through and share as well. But realizing, make sure our audience know that, hey, if you're just starting a business, that does not mean your story just begun. That means this is the twist. This is the plot change in your story, in your story.
That's right.
And this is what people buy into. People want to hear your story. Why did you get started?
Exactly.
What was that pivotal point? Because again, we're still writing the story, and it's the book is not finished yet.
Exactly. I like that. You know, I want to go into before I give our story of Prime Care, because you know a lot of our viewers probably don't even know our story. But I want to talk about actually Howard Schwartz. Yeah. So he's the CEO of Starbucks, and I end up listening to his story, and his story was so fascinating, Ferris. I thought it was amazing. I want to go into his story, and of course, especially if he's networking with coffee companies, he's probably not going to tell he started off living in poverty. He's probably not going to start off with that part, but he's going to go into like how he became connected with the initial founder. So I want to tell his story, and let's talk about how fascinating this is, and that's what you have to create for yourself. So even if you are in the home care industry, if you are in the trucking industry, there's a story. If you are in the real estate industry, that's a story. So you have to connect. So a little bit about Howard Schwartz. Howard Schwartz actually grew up in poverty, Ferris. He grew up in public housing. His dad was an Army vet and a truck driver. And so as a truck driver, I guess in these winter months, his dad ended up getting hurt. He fell on some ice and ended up breaking his leg and ended up losing his job. And so Howard would always just think about dreaming of living a better life. And so make a long story short, he was good in football, so he got a football scholarship in college. He didn't want to go the athletics route, but he chose communication. And so by him choosing communication, he had to pretty much work for his degree. And so he gave blood. He did all this stuff to really kind of make ends to meet. After he pretty much graduated with his communication degree, Ferris, he ended up getting a job at a ski lodge, and then as a salesperson. And he fell in love with this company called Starbucks. So Starbucks actually was founded before Howard Schwartz pretty much became a part of it. So it was 3 owners of Starbucks, and he tried to convince them left and right, for over a year to hire me as a marketer or whatever, to work with Starbucks. And so they eventually hired him, and then Howard ended up taking a trip to Italy. And he went to this coffee shop, and he was just so inspired about the experience, about how the coffee owners knew their names, and the experience of how people just wanted to sit down and drink their coffee and engage. And so he came back to the States and said, hey, we need to make sure that we can duplicate this experience that we got in Italy. And guess what, Ferris? The owners was like, nah, we don't want to go that route. So we don't want to do it. So that pretty much, he got rejected. And so Howard didn't stop there. He said, you know what, I'm going to start my own company. So he started his own company in coffee. And, he spoke to over 242 investors, Ferris. And a lot of them said no. 217 said no. So a lot of them, the other people said yes. And that's devastating to everybody here say, no, I'm not going to invest in your business. I don't think it's, you have a legitimate business. And so make a long story short again, he got the investors. He ended up pretty much kind of starting his company. A few years later, Starbucks went bankrupt, so he ended up buying Starbucks and rebranding his whole company under Starbucks. And now today, Howard Schwartz has over 30,000 Starbucks coffee shops across the world, and is valued over $100 billion.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man.
That's a story.
That's a story right there. And what that story does, it connects on so many levels. As an investor, it connects. It kind of shows the bigger picture. It shows the growth. It shows that this organization triumphed through the hard times to where it's at today. As a team member, it shows stability. It's inspiring for those up and coming baristas.
Right.
It shows that we're connected to a strong heritage. And as a customer, it really connects to the person, because now I'm not just drinking a cup of coffee.
Right.
I'm drinking history. I'm drinking something that's going to be here. Like when I'm drinking when he went to Italy and experienced that. I'm a part of that heritage. And so that's one thing is when you're crafting your story, I think it's so important not to just go through and think about, okay, well, this is just my story.
Right.
A story is just not your story. A story can be inspiring. A story can go through and provoke change for a person that's just drinking a coffee and seeing it at a different level. And I think that's a very inspiring story.
And I'm gonna tell you something too, Ferris. If you think about it, like now, because I know the story, I'm so passionate about, like, I want to support his dream because it brought me as a customer. You know, I love Starbucks, I love Dunkin' Donuts, but now I'm like, let me just probably support a little bit more Starbucks because I know the story. I know the why. I know the hardships that he's gone through. I know all of the no's because as an entrepreneur, we experience those no's as well.
Correct.
We experience, okay, no, this is not going to work. No, it's going to take time. You know, no, I don't want your services. Exactly. No, I'm not going to give you a referral or whatever. And so we experience these no's. And so as an entrepreneur, I got into his heart and I got into his world of all those no's because I experienced that personally.
And that's funny. Like when a story, the goal with stories is to continue to tell the story.
Right.
Because your story is going to touch someone. Like there's people been born, there's people turning 18 or 20, whatever, every day, as we continue, especially as entrepreneurs, we cannot go through and actually forget to go through and continue to tell our stories.
Yes.
I know many of us have heard of definitely famous people such as your Jay-Z and your Rick Ross, and the story from hustle to CEO.
Right.
You hear those individuals that have immigrant stories, your stories like your Gary Vaynerchuk or your Patrick Bet-David, people that actually lived in other countries and sought refuge and actually came over to America to go there and live that success story. You have your stories such as MLK, Dr. King, who actually had a dream and had a story of actually triumphing and actually affecting, impacting a whole community, whole world. A story, what's in your story? That's one thing you have to go through and think about. So regardless if you're the baker, regardless if you're the car wash owner, regardless if you're the trucking company,
yes,
or the barber, whatever, you have a story. I go through and Cato, I think about the heritage. I know we're in Milledgeville. I think about the heritage of Freeman Barbershop. Mr. Freeman, I remember Robert Freeman when we were young. We were very, very young, and we used to go through and get our haircuts. And so now I saw how he actually created other opportunities for other barbers to come in to actually work up on his toolage. And one thing he did was he created an atmosphere where his story was being written. And though he's long gone, his barbershop, or the Freeman's Barbershop, is still operating downtown. Still there. And I think there's still other barbershops across the states as well. But my thing is, he started something. He didn't realize he was writing a story right then. Right. But he didn't realize the impact. And I guarantee you probably didn't know my name. Right. But I'm going on 40 years old, and I don't know how long he's been gone, but years later, I'm able to go through and carry his story. I'm able to go through and share my story, share his story with my son when we come down to Milledgeville and maybe get a haircut at his barbershop. I can say, this is where Daddy sat at. This is the story of Robert Freeman. This is where Mr. Freeman used to cut hair, and he produced Amari's. He produced the other barbers that were down there, and Dax, and all these other individuals that were barbers. But that's the power of a story. A story continues to be told if it's impactful.
Hey you, do you know or have a disabled child that needs in-home care services? Hello, this is Adrian Cockfield, GAP Coordinator with Prime Care Home Care, and I provide services for the Albany and surrounding county areas. And what I do is provide children with physical disabilities, assisting them throughout the enrollment process. Now, if your child is between the ages of 0 and 20 years old and 11 months and you receive Medicaid services, this program is exactly for you. For more information, give me a call at 229-347-7430. That number again is 229-347-7430. Looking to hear from you soon. Thanks.
Well, I'm gonna tell you one thing too. I remember, it's so important that the impact, like that impact fair is what you just said. Because I remember, mom being a single parent, carrying all of us to get our hair cut at Freeman's, and I would probably be asleep half the time while they cut my hair, and just to know that that his story has impacted our lives so much. A haircut is not just only a haircut is a whole. It creates a whole different atmosphere for you. It creates a whole different mood.
Yes.
And what he was instilling in us, I was learning from Mr. Freeman, being a black male in business. I was learning, with the importance of learning your customers. Yes. I was also learning the being determined and dedicated to your craft.
Yes.
And being involved. And so that story of Mr. Freeman, really just kind of that touched my heart, because he really made an impact. Really made an impact in our community.
And I think that's the big part right there. Knowing that you are telling a story, you are building a story. Your story is being written, whether you know it or not. Your story is being written because somebody's reading your book.
Wow.
And you may not know that the book is open, but somebody's reading your book through social media, through the things you post, through the way you carry yourself. But the story's being written so that I think a lot of times in life, especially as entrepreneurs, we try to look for that Howard Schultz story right now, but not realizing we're part of the process. And the goal in the story is not to give up mid-sentence, because no one wants to read a book and halfway they're building up and like, oh my gosh, this character, he's about to go through and overcome this right here. And you turn the page into the blank page. Right. And as we're in the story, that's the same thing that we have to go through and remember. We're writing the story so that now when we're in business, or now that we're doing things, the story is going to inspire others to continue to move.
Well, before I go into the Prime Care story, I do want to, if you think about this, especially like these movie and television films, people, these are great storytellers. Yeah, and so that's why they win these awards, because they tell the best story. And not only do they tell the best story, they have all of the backings to make the story come to life.
Yes.
And so that's what you have to think about, especially in business, is how can I tell my story and how can I make it come to life?
Yes.
So I want to tell you about our story at Prime Care. I started the business actually with my twin brother many, many years ago in 2007. And so we started because of our grandmother. My grandmother's name was Lena Baker. That was my mother's mother. So my maternal grandmother. And so my grandmother, Lena, came to stay with my mom while we were in high school. And she suffered from Alzheimer's. And so my brother Joshua and I, we used to come home from high school and come home and just kind of make sure grandma was taken care of, and either, give her some snacks or, walked her around, wheelchaired her around the neighborhood so she can get out. And so as her disease progressed with Alzheimer's, we had to hire a caregiver. Correct. So my mother found a caregiver for our grandma. And that person was caring, reliable, honest, punctual. And that person was just really professional, overall good person. And so Josh and I, we wanted to make sure we was in the selection process with that process, with finding the right caregiver. And so we found the right caregiver. We went off to college and we majored in biology pre-med. And then our junior year in college fairs, we ended up did an internship with a home care company. Correct. And then we reflected like, this was the same thing that we did for grandma. This is what they were doing. They were just hiring caregivers to come into homes for others. And so we were like, hey, we can do that. So that's when we dropped out of college, and we said we're going to pursue our business full time. And so, we had full rides to college. We didn't have to pay for school, and my mama thought we were half crazy. But we followed our dream, and little did we know, like the first couple of years was really tough for us. We didn't really know how to do business. We didn't know about a story. We didn't know about branding. We didn't know about, the only thing we knew about is this is the services that we provide. And come to find out now, having a story helps you with selling, helps you with, getting connected with your audience. And so our story involved our grandmother coming to stay with us. And then we did an internship, and that was the history. We ended up dropping out of college to pursue our dream of helping others. And today, we have impacted so many lives, and we're on the quest to continue to impact more lives. Exactly. And so that's our story. And once people hear that story, they see like the motivation. Yes. They see the drive. They connect either their loved ones with an ailing disease or whatever, and then they get connected with the brand. And so that's our story with Prime Care.
And Caleb, one thing when you told that story, and this is something I'm a big proponent of, stories are always interconnected.
Yeah.
stories are always interconnected. It's like almost like when you read a book and you say, you remember when I read Think and Grow Rich, that was a pivotal point in my life. Or you remember when I read Who Moved My Cheese, that was a pivotal point in my life. Dr. Spencer Johnson doesn't know us,
right?
But realize his story is connected to our lives. The same thing when it comes to an entrepreneur or somebody who has a story, knowing that people, we have team members all across the United States,
right?
Actually across the world now. We have team members across the world, and their stories are interconnected to our stories because you and Josh actually took the leap of faith to go out there and start a business.
Right.
Because you guys took the leap of faith to go out there and start, even though you didn't have everything just to start. Now we have team members that can say, you know, when I graduated from college, what I did was I came on board at Prime Care and I did X, Y, and Z. Or I can say when I transitioned from the military, I came on board as a this with Prime Care, and now I went through the ranks of becoming the CEO of Prime Care. Or we can have people that says, you know what, hey, after I graduated from high school, I worked at an agency and became the executive director of a regional brand, becoming national brand agency. It's because the stories are always interconnected.
Right.
And that's one thing is, it's not about, okay, well, hey, my story, your story. It's like the stories are being written right now. Every last story is being written.
Oh, yes.
And so the more stories we can kind of connect, just like Robert Freeman, Mr. Freeman's Barbershop, his story is a part of our story.
That's right.
It's like now we just continue to go through and actually turn the page. And that what actually makes a beautiful story, a beautiful book, because it's always connected and always interconnected as well.
Wow. And so this is my challenge, especially for entrepreneurs as well as people that are starting businesses. I would encourage you to take a moment and just kind of write out your story. You know, write out the why you do what you do.
Yes.
But write out what was the impact that you chose this field? What was the impact that you chose this study? What was the impact that you chose this career? And so and everyone has a story, Ferris. And I think that the more you vividly tell your story, the more you can engage your audience.
Exactly.
And so you want to be colorful. You want this story to be colorful. Now I could go in, because we grew up, you know, I could go in a whole lot, but I just pretty much kind of gave you the surface of how we became, involved with Prime Care, home care services. And so, you know, there's a story in each of us. Yes. And so I want to encourage you today to tell your story. I want to encourage you today to write your story and to proclaim your story, and let that be a exclamation of why I do what I do.
Exactly.
You know, and captivate. You're going to captivate so many people. You're going to touch so many lives because of your story, and people are going to fall in love with your brand. Brother,
hey man, I think you said it. You wrapped it up, man. Because I think, just like you said, like it's what's in your story, what's in your story, and to go through and tell your story. So, guys, we hope you all enjoyed this podcast. Again, the takeaway from this is to go through and create your story.
Create your story.
Tell your story. Tell your story. Write your story. Create your story, because you are living your story and you are the main character as well. So again, we appreciate you all tuning in. Guys, you can go through and follow us on every social media outlet out there. Look up the Homecare Guyz with the Z. Also, actually subscribe to us on Spotify and Anchor as well, so you can listen to the podcast when you're driving down the street as well.
And YouTube too.
And YouTube as well.
Of course.
And again, we drop new episodes every Tuesday and Thursday as well. So guys, we have some amazing things that are coming down the pipe. Other than that, Kaylee, you want to close us out, man?
Well, you just wrapped it up, you guys. Well, definitely follow us on YouTube if you can. We definitely are just making an impact in our community, especially with entrepreneurship. We're all about those three things: motivation, entrepreneurship, as well as healthcare. And so I hope you enjoyed this episode about your story. Get to writing. Start writing your story.
See you next time.